What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Lock and Cash podcast. This is your prop show for NFL Conference Championship weekend. We've got two games to go over, some of the player matchups that I like, some of the player props that I'm looking to target, and some of the projections as well that we can get into. So if this is your first time finding the channel, my name is Jeff with Lock and Cash Sports. We've got two games this weekend, four teams. I think the best way to do this is to just go team by team. I'm going to go, because I have a long list of player props here that I'm looking to play. And, this is really the info that I come across when I'm handicapping the games, when I'm reading matchup breakdowns from sharp sources that I trust, and that give out really good information, that have good information. And then I combine that with my own handicapping and I come away with like, oh, this player should do well. This player might not, et cetera, et cetera. So, we'll talk about it. We'll go team by team. Before I get into it, did want to mention our partnership with Underdog Fantasy. There's a link down below in the description if you want to check out their app. It's a fantasy pick'em app. It's not a betting app, but I really like it. It's a great user experience. It's a nice switch up from like the daily grind of just handicapping, finding line value, getting CLV, all that stuff in basketball, football, etc. So it's a nice switch up. You can create 2-leg, 3-leg, 4 or 5-leg entries, whatever you want. They have cool promos. Bunch of bonuses all the time, free picks here and there. So I think it's really worth a look. The link is down in the description. And if you sign up with our code LCS, which I'll put up here in the corner, they will give you a free pick win to get you started. So it's Patrick Mahomes this weekend to just get 1 yard. So that's obviously a free win. You could throw that in any one of your entries and you don't have to worry about that leg. And they'll also give you up to 1K in bonus cash again when you sign up with code LCS. So let's start with the Philadelphia Eagles. All right. There's going to be a lot made about the Jalen Hurts injury. But on top of the injury, I just think this is not the best matchup for him in terms of the passing game. So I'm looking at Jalen Hurts' projection of 185.5 passing yards. And I think I'm going to end up playing the under on this. So talk about a little bit why. Number one, you do have the injury. Yes. Everyone knows about that. He did come back into the game against the Rams with just a knee sleeve on. That kind of indicated that it probably wasn't that serious. But the bottom line is that he looked limited, right? His mobility looked like it was affected towards the end of that game. And the bigger thing is, though, you're running on pure adrenaline there. They probably shot him up with something. What does that feel like days later, a week later? So I'm a little hesitant in terms of Hurts, like tush push, running the football. He ran well against LA early in that game. And I'm also hesitant about the deep ball because you need to plant your legs. You need that power from your lower body to be able to throw the deep ball. So guys that are going to get affected by that, by the way, if you're looking at other unders in this game, is like AJ Brown, Devonta Smith. Those are the guys that are going to be impacted. There's certain guys that if he cannot throw the deep ball will benefit more from that. So this is kind of the game that we play back and forth. But I think under 185.5 passing yards is something that I like. Another thing is the matchup. Washington does not play a lot of man coverage. Philly, in terms of their wide receiving core, it's just nothing but man beaters. AJ Brown, one of the best in the league at that, and Smith as well. And a lot of what they run, the mesh concepts, the sticks, it's all man beating stuff that's designed to win against man coverage. Washington, less than 20% of coverage of dropbacks this playoff so far. They've been man coverage, less than 20%. So it's not good. Hurts during the regular season, 0.42 EPA per play against man coverage. That's really good. That's third in the NFL. 0.02 EPA per play against zone coverage, 22nd in the NFL. It's just not a good matchup for him, and I think they're going to have to go run heavy anyway. Saquon's going to have a lot of success in this game. The Commanders, look at what Jahmyr Gibbs did to them last week. I think you see something similar. Philly's going to keep this on the ground. If they're playing from ahead, it's a perfect game script for this to hit. So I like the under on Jalen Hurts' passing yards. Take a look at that. Now, second one here is going to seem like it contradicts, but it really doesn't. I like Dallas Goedert's over 40.5 receiving. I like his receiving yards. I also like his 3.5 receptions as well, but it's a bit juiced now. The market has kind of moved on that, so I'm off of that. I still like the receiving number, though, the receiving yards number, for exactly what I just said. If Hurts can't throw the deep ball, he's going to need that mid-range option. Okay, you're going to have the dump offs, but the runs with Saquon, but he can't run the ball in every play, right? So Hurts is going to have to throw. I wouldn't be surprised if it's another game like last week where it goes for like 130, 140 yards. But I like Goddard as a piece of that game plan because you're not going to have the deep ball as much with AJ Brown. And by the way, AJ Brown has just not looked right lately, right? Smith is going to be impacted by the zone coverage and by Hurts not being able to throw if he's not able to throw. And obviously a part of this is getting that right? Like it's a prediction. You're playing on it's kind of like a correlation thing. You're playing like, if he can't throw the deep ball, these have value. If he can, it kind of kills the value, right? So, but I think Goddard's a perfect mid-range option. towards the middle of the field, towards the sidelines that Hurts can consistently go to. So I like him on both the receptions, but I like honestly the receiving yards a bit more. So Dallas Goedert over 40.5 receiving yards. I also want to look at Kenneth Gainwell, by the way, because all of the attention is on Saquon Barkley. Everybody wants to bet Barkley to score, Barkley's rushing, Barkley's receiving. We'll talk about all those, but I think a sneaky one here, and it's actually come down. I'm a little confused by it, but Kenneth Gainwell over 8.5 rushing yards. He's going to get 3 to 4 carries in this game. He's gotten that consistently pretty much all season. The last time they played the Commanders in Philly, he ran for, I think he had 4 carries for 44 yards. Washington's just not good against the run. So if Saquon breaks off like a big run, gets brought down, he needs a break, Gainwell comes in for 2 snaps. Gainwell can get 9 yards and 2 carries in this game. And it was 10.5 and it got bought down. So I'm going to probably be on this. I like Kenneth Gainwell over 8.5 rushing yards, and particularly in this matchup against the Commanders. Saquon, I don't want to look at his rushing prop. It's just wildly inflated. The receiving number, though, is still the same as it was last week. He cleared it last week, cleared it in the first game against the Rams, cleared it the last time they played the Commanders in Philly. 12.5 receiving yards for Saquon. Again, the Hurts injury, all the things I just discussed, this is all correlated. This is kind of like how I like to build these game outlooks or whatever you want to call them, game previews. But it's all correlated. If things are going to go roughly the way I think they're going to go, one or two dump offs to Saquon, and he's going to get 13 receiving yards. He's so good at making guys miss. Doesn't look like you're going to have snow in this game. You're going to still have weather be a factor, but not snow. So that's good for him on a dry field. And even though in the snow, he was still incredible last week in the snow. But yes, Saquon over 12.5 receiving. I still think it hasn't been adjusted up. I'm just kind of just like waiting for it to be. I mean, we only got 2 games left, but it hasn't been adjusted up. And I think there's still value on that as well. So that was, we did 4 Eagles players on. I only got 1 Washington player that I really like on the Commanders. And this matchup is perfect for Austin Eckler. Okay. I'm looking at everything. 2.5 receptions. The receiving yards, I really like the rushing plus receiving. It's at 44.5. He's had 50 or more rushing plus receiving yards in 11 of 14 games this season. He's hit this number 4 straight games as a road underdog. There's a lot of good trends for Eckler in this one. And by the way, the Eagles secondary, the last time they played Philly, Eckler, 8 catches for 89 yards. It's because the Eagles secondary is so good. So guys downfield are going to be clamped on more downs than usual, right? Washington loves getting into these third down passing downs, obvious passing downs, and Eckler comes in for those unless they're third and short. But if they're third and medium, third and long, he's in for those passing downs. Philly, I'm not going to say clamp all night long, but they play great. They have great secondary. Quinyon Mitchell's going to play in this game. He said he could have came in the game last week, so he should be a go for this one. So there's no injury concerns. On top of that, Nakobe Dean, their best run stopper, is out. So it's not like their secondary is impacted, right? So I think the Commanders here, on a few of these broken plays that Jane Downs is so good at extending, comes out, extends. If guys are covered downfield, which has been pretty common for anybody playing the Eagles, he's going to need the check down option, the dump off option. And Eckler is so good at just catching those and creating something out of nothing, making one guy miss, getting a big first down. He's really, really good in the passing game. And it's been like he's been rejuvenated playing with Jaden Daniels, which is what great players do. Great quarterbacks do that. They affect their teammates. So I like everything for Eckler, the receptions, receiving yards, but my favorite is rushing plus receiving at 44.5. I like that the most for Austin Eckler. All right, let's move over to the AFC game. And let's look at Buffalo first. All right, I think this one, listen, the first one's going to seem so square and obvious, but there's trends to support it. It's going to be Josh Allen, over 9.5 rushing attempts. It might be a little bit juicy, but he's hit this in 3 out of the 4 last games against Kansas City. The last game earlier this season we played, I think he had 12 carries. Look at how well he ran the ball against the Ravens last week. They didn't need him to do it too much, but he did it so well, scored a couple touchdowns. Same thing against Denver. They're going to run. They're going to use him in the rushing game. All right. And Kansas City's defense is good against the run in general. We're talking about running backs, right? So like James Cook, Ray Davis, those guys are going to be impacted by that if the Chiefs can stop the run. But man, not many teams can stop Josh Allen with the ball in his hand. He's a force to be reckoned with. So I like the over 9.5 rushing attempts, specifically in this matchup. I also like a sneaky one here with Keon Coleman, over 19.5 receiving yards. This one's going to make no sense. Last week, no burn at all. One catch the entire game. Was, playing, by the way, an elite Baltimore secondary. So that was a tough matchup for him. But you know what? The one deep ball that Josh Allen threw in that entire game, there was a very conservative Buffalo game plan. The one deep ball was to him. It was the play that they got the defensive pass interference on, which was everybody was like complaining about how bad of a call it was. It was Keon Coleman that was the target for that one. So the Chiefs, much weaker in the secondary. Good against the run. They can be beaten through the air. So I think this game is going to be like, this entire game is going to come down to, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down with the ball in Josh Allen's hands. That's going to mean him running a lot and throwing a lot. I don't think Buffalo goes back to that heavy running game script with the running backs. I think it's going to be all about Allen in this game. And if naturally downfield, Keon Coleman can get this in one catch. Last week, even though he had one catch, he led the Bills in snaps, routes run. He's constantly on the field, and he's going up against a weaker secondary. And there's going to be opportunities for Coleman in this game. I really believe that, much more so than there were last week. Different game script. On the other side, kind of a sneaky one, and we're going to look at Xavier Worthy. All right, Xavier Worthy. Rushing yards. I know. And I'll credit this. I got this on the Action app, which is down below. I forget who posted it, man, but the link is down below if you want to follow me on there. I post my free plays on there. But somebody made a great point about the Chiefs and how they use wide receivers in the playoffs. On average, the Chiefs, since their, dynasty has begun, basically, in the playoffs, Andy Reid loves handing off the ball on these like little jet sweeps. You guys have all seen it before, all these little toss-back sweeps to non-running backs, and they average two, I think a little over two. So 2 to 3 of these per game. And who's the natural option that you would give that to? You're not going to run a sweep with Juju, right? You're not going to run a sweep with Kelsey. It's going to be Xavier Worthy. I think you get 2 of these. I think you might get 2 of these little weird plays where Mahomes goes one way, Worthy comes the other way, sweep or handoff, and he runs 3.5 rushing yards. I think he can get it against a Buffalo linebacking, a secondary. He just has to get past that first level because their linebacking core and secondary are not great in terms of open field tackling. So if he can get by that first level, I think he can break one off. So I like, this is a very sneaky one. Xavier Worthy over 3.5 rushing yards. So that'll do it for the prop show, guys. Let me know down in the comments what props you're looking to play. And remember to check out Underdog as well. The link is down there. Once again, free pick this weekend is for Mahomes. So Mahomes to get a half yard. You could throw that in any of your entries to get 1 yard, and the bonus cash offer for any new signups. So just use code LCS if you're interested in that. And thanks for watching as always. I'll see you guys next time. Let's get it.